beautiful divine masculine and feminine darlings. This is the Seraphim Gem Gypsy, SeraFae Indigo Empress, in Shiloh Horizon. I don't plan to be here for too long. I'm actually in my pajamas and ready for bed. But I did pick up some spell work. So this probably won't resonate with everybody, and that's fine. I picked up, I keep picking up something about beauty. They're jealous of divine feminine's beauty, but also love. They're trying to throw love spells either to tear apart real counterparts or, I don't know, I guess to isolate. It's very strange. Suppression also. Okay, I'm getting a Reiki to clear that out. They're wanting people to be suppressed. I also just heard something about the algorithm too. In some cases, they would like false attack people's accounts to try to get them suppressed, like shadow banned in the algorithm. But here, it's not working, bottom line, and I'll pull some cards on it momentarily.
Talking like we used to do. It was always me and you, shaping up and shipping out.
I'll hear a couple of things. So a little bit ago I heard this divine masculine, he asked, did you eat? Did you eat? No. Not since, right. And that was the second question. You better have had something other than just a burrito. No. Not yet. But I will. Before bed, he says, yes, Daddy. Also, I picked up while I was in the shower earlier something about BDE. And my first thought was they were referencing, just to be blunt, big dick energy. And then divine masculine came through and said, big daddy energy. I'm like, yes. So there was that also. There was another thing too. Somebody else said, did you finish your nails? I did.
Check me in and check me out. Do you like walking in the rain? When you think of love, do you think of pain?
No, I know why that came out. Okay, that makes sense. Because the last nail has a seashell on it, and I remember looking down at it a little while ago and thinking, you know, that kind of looks like a penis. Let me show you. Like, not really, but also, yeah, kind of. Right, I heard that kind of does look like a penis. Right, at first glance, if you don't know any better. The lighting is not great right now, but it's not. It's a seashell, and you just can't see the differentiation between the color tones because they're such pale pink and like neutral color. Hold on. There it is. It says plastic free because we don't want to deal with those toxic karmics. Regina George's. All right, heard. It does kind of look like a dick. Yeah. So it was a seashell, and then I capped it with a little crystal at the top, and then it was just a pearl at the bottom, but then I added a second one, which I think balanced it out more. But then I looked down at it, and I'm like, out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, wait, that looks like a dick. So anyway, Adventures with MGem, welcome. All right, Regina George, the plastics. First of all, there was a reference of divine feminine being organically made up, so like no plastic surgery, no fillers, no nothing. There was also a reference of the Mean Girl movie and how Regina George and her little Mean Girl posse are called the plastics because they're super fake and vain. And so we don't want those fake copycat Mean Girl karmic people. Not just mean girls, just mean people in general. We don't want them around us. Plastic free. Take me to the beach. Or keep it organic. Thanks.
You can tell me what you see. I will choose.
Divine masculine. He says organic like that BDE.
Family. Oh, darling. This body is yours. This body is yours and mine. Well, hold on, my darling. This mess was yours. Now your mess is mine. Your mess is mine. See you in the marketplace, walking around at 8 a.m. Got 2 hours before my
I heard
flight.
that. Somebody says, I want to see them all. I should do it all. Hold on. Plastic free. My seashell. Right. Now it does. I heard that. Divine Masculine says it does look like a seashell now. It also kind of looks like a veiny dick. But it's fine. Queen, I still rule the house. Whether it's a dick or a seashell, it's mine. Moving on. Love Bambi. The royal starfish. That's what it's called. Taking a vacation. Good vibes. Airplanes. Travel. Those are palm fronds. Palm trees. And then happily ever after. They lived happily ever after. Pick up. Sometimes it's finicky. My Dixie shell. Divine Masculine thinks I'm funny. I heard that those were good. You like the set? I definitely need to put moisturizer on my hands. The acetone dries it out. It's alcohol based. Come on, baby. Speaking of. Crap, I keep getting it in those rhinestones. So I forget. I'm so used to just scooping it out with the back of my nail. Not so much to having these crystals on my fingertips.
Not be on my side tonight. You're the reason that I feel so strong. The reason that I'm hanging on. You know you gave me all the time. Well, did I give enough of mine? Hold on, darling. This body is yours. This body is yours and mine. Well, hold on, my darling. This mess was yours. Now your mess is mine. Your mess is mine. Your mess is mine. Bring me to your house. Tell me sorry for the mess. Hey, I don't mind. You're talking in your sleep all the time. Well, you still make sense to me. Your mess is mine. Your mess is mine. This body's yours and this body's your mess is mine. Your mess is mine.
Divine Masculine. He says, I don't care what other people put you through your mind now. Also the line with it says like this body is yours and mine. Okay.
Patients make a
Shh. Okay.
Girl, you know you look good.
But they tried to glitch out the music. Told you. What did I come here for? At 9:15 I picked up there was spell work being done and like a group chant. But I also have been picking up this karmic female. She's just really obsessed with divine feminine. And even if divine feminine's not interested in the person that this karmic female is interested in, she's just obsessed with trying to destroy divine feminine's life or copy her or something. It's weird. So she's just been sending like anything they can do to cause issues to try to make the divine masculine look at the divine feminine funny, or vice versa. Or even the divine feminine not to trust the divine masculine, not to give him a chance. That's what they want. Like to traumatize her and put her in such a state of tension that she just shuts him out. Or doesn't take a chance on the connection. Like that's what they were hoping for, pretty much. The other thing is she's jealous of her appearance. I just heard body envy. It's very strange. And it might not even have to do with the exact specifics of this divine feminine's physicality. It's her essence or her energy, whether this karmic realizes it or not, or it's the way that she's envious of people's draw towards the divine feminine. People are allured by the divine feminine. Yeah, I heard it's not fair that you get to be authentic and people just like you. I can't be myself. People hate me when I'm myself. You know who I am. You've seen who I am. Look at what I'm doing to you. You don't like me either. No? And this behavior is why you probably don't like yourself very much. For starters. She likes it down. The price they pay, she wears them out. Do what she say, it really ain't that hard to see. I don't mind, I'ma give up part of me. I'm falling, I don't wanna get up. Do you wanna go right now? I just wanna flip you up. Baby, what you about? You already know my motive. Try to get away from you, but I just can't let you go. I just wanna make you my day. Girl, you know you look good. And I love it. You shine bright in the dark. I ain't running. You be as cold when you frozen. I don't see it all, girl, I've been around. Wanna go again, it's reloaded. You already know that I'm down. I just wanna be by your side, let you know that I'm there. I'ma hold your hips, let you ride while I pull back your hair. So tell me, babe, do you wanna go right now? I just wanna flip you up. Baby, what you about? You already know my motive. Try to get away from you, but I just can't let you go. I just wanna make you my day. Girl, you know you look good. And I love it. You shine bright in the dark. I ain't running. I have a solution for that.
Advise.
It's advisable for you to cut that out, weirdos. Not the good kind. So it was a commercial for some kind of equity or something. karmic is angry and tantruming right now. She says that they're never going to get away with it, whatever they were doing. Trying to set people up for spells.
Put yours in front of it. Hanging up my boots now, gonna put some roots down, baby. We got something good in the world gone crazy. Give me your hand, I'm never gonna let go. Here in your arms, I finally feel at home.
It's 1:11.
Take my heart, take my cold, honey. I'll be like
1:11 here on the clock on the East Coast. So I told you this karmic wanted to do spell work to try to disturb the peace and the harmony of the light workers. See? Sending psychic attacks. What else? Sending psychic attacks. Organization just popped out, so they wanted to disturb the focus and the productivity. I would say they envy the productivity or the drive that light workers have towards their goals or life in general. Courage. They want people to be too afraid to do anything about the situation, resolve it, change it, bring justice, favor and fairness. Right? They wanted to, that's so funny, disturb the sleep, I guess, of the light workers? No. In fact, I'm actually quite excited to go to bed in a little bit. I'm tired. I can hear it in my demeanor. I'm sure it registers on my face. But it is 1 o'clock in the morning. Trust. They wanted, what, didn't I say that? They didn't want... They didn't want the twins to trust each other. They wanted to mess up her life and make him look at her funny. Or like make her look at him like a fuckboy. Or be too afraid to even take the leap of faith. I'm also picking up they wanted him to be in promiscuous energy. Like Judas Jezebel energy. Because that's what steered these people into the dark side or kept them there. And so they think that that will work on other people. Maybe it has in the past, but no. They wanted to cause people to make poor choices like that to forfeit their divine grace and favor. No. Sensuality, what did I just say? They wanted him to go sleep with someone else or be tempted or whatever. Here, leave her hanging, leave her high and dry. No. You're stupid. That didn't work. This is the karmic who's mad because somebody that she liked or was dating or had a crush on or something is still fixated on Divine Feminine, even though Divine Feminine doesn't want him, hasn't spoken to him in years. It's those psychos. Unstable. Magical powers. Yeah, see, they thought that they were special. No, they're just psychotic. You need to put the spellcraft down. Put the grimoire down. Put your little... Just heard apothecary. Try to have an apothecary. No, girl. Right, divine guidance. You need to pump the brakes and slow your roll. Quit while you think you're ahead, because they're not, and they know it now. But, what was the other thing you said? Metaphysical bag. Put the metaphysical bag down. Thank you. Yeah, and listen, or the divine will whoop your behind. You want to sit there and bully children of the divine, you will be sorely spanked. With the truth. Divine masculines being sassy. Also cute. Kind of funny. I mean, I'm not arguing with you. You started it. You brought up the dick now. Touche. And there was a question that came through. It was posed, and it asked, "Did he say something sexy?" Yeah. And then he came through with the funny and said, "You brought up the dick now, but that's the thing. It's an innuendo." I didn't mean for it to be, but it ended up being that way. Kane, right. There was another one. Very phallic energy tonight. Hilarious. That's so funny. It's hot. I heard that like you. Spicy mama. That's thrice today. And I do indeed resonate with the black cat energy. Stone in your shoe. Right. And these karmics just keep trying to be nuisances, pretty much. It's just annoying at that point. It's not like it really does a whole lot. But over time, yeah, that will grate on you. That's not nice. Okay, I looked up a song because I was hearing it in the shower, and it's called Till the Last One Dies, or Till the Last Rose Dies. Flower. Tightrope walker. He's taking this leap of faith towards divine feminine. Yeah. Maybe reaching out in communication. It will move quickly from here. And it's a yes. It's confirmation of not only the relationship and the connection, but the success and longevity of it. Get up. I'm hearing there's a karmic mad at my reading skills. My ability to see through them. Just tap in. Shush. You stone in a shoe. You cold bowl of soup. You old dirty diaper. Got some insults for you, and I don't even have to swear. You grocery cart at the grocery store that nobody wants because it squeaks and the wheel sticks. I didn't make some of these up. Let's play this. Hold on. Divine Masculine's laughing. He says, I want to hear this. Hold on. What was it? For people you don't like. What is it? I have to find the exact wording. Hold on. I think I found it. Here it is. Things to call people you hate. An easy bake oven. An expired coupon. I heard that this is funny. Yeah. A spam email, a wet sock. I heard, ew, yeah. And uncomfortable. Can you imagine a cold, wet sock on your foot and then you go to try to put it inside a shoe? Ew. I heard that. That does sound uncomfortable. Yeah, so it's a good insult. For people you hate. You squeaky grocery cart. You inconvenient fire drill. They want to cause such emergencies. Attention. Cold bowl of soup. You itchy sweater. You t-shirt that needs the tag cut out of it. I made that one up. That's not here, but piggybacking on itchy sweater. You unnecessary movie sequel. You overdraft bank fee. You wobbly table. This is probably my favorite one. You sun glare when I'm driving just before sunset and I have to put my sun visor down because I forgot my sunglasses and I'm still really uncomfortable and it's just a big hassle all around. There you go. I think they're hilarious. Divine Masculine's laughing. Here's the song. Till the Last One Dies. I guess it's by Chris Young.
Every goodbye, every phone call, before we hang up, I always say I love you, but I never say how much. With every turn of this big old world, girl, we get more distracted. All I know is a life without you is a life I can't imagine. It hit me on the winding road, just how one dies. Baby, the way you kissed me this morning on my way out made me want to stop hoping you know and do more thinking out loud. Then a song came on and a light did too, 'cause every single word reminded me of you. I've never been so sure. Now
turn the light on for just a second. Self-love, first and foremost. Could be doing your nails. This could be cutting out thoughts of people. Look, the self-love that each twin has had has been what's allowed them to recognize this in each other. Because look at what's over here, actually, hurt heart. And they are able to see the pain in each other, the healing that's needed or the healing that's been done. And they bring this passion, this life into each other or back into each other. This is a pure connection, very passionate, but very pure. The roses. It's very magic. It's a divinely led connection. Look at the sparkles around the both of them, manifesting the one. Yep, look, marriage and dreams come true. This is a stable connection. This is a long-term connection. This is a connection that's full of fire and passion and sexual chemistry, yes, but it's out of love. They come together and they don't fall apart. Here, it's what I've been praying for. Also, divine masculine. He says, I love you. He says, okay, I need a second. And some water. He said, I love your dick finger. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't realize this would be such a running joke. I just thought it was funny when I noticed. No, Divine Masculine says, no, you're right, it's funny. It's funnier than you think it is. That's why I keep it going. Innuendo. What the fuck is a dick finger? When you go to paint a seashell and then from a distance it looks like a wang. To answer your question, in case that's what you're asking. I guess he's right. It still is pretty funny. Unseen heart. Right, no. Also kind of looks like a unicorn horn. It's not. It's a seashell. Next time I'll pick more prominent outline colors. 49, 22. I see that Divine Masculine's laughing so hard. It's like in stitches, but he's like crying. You know how you laugh so hard you cry? Yeah, that. That's funny. Well, good. I'm glad I could share the giggle. So I did say that. Not being able to be properly seen or heard, except for they do. They see each other. They see where each other have been hurt and where each other needs love or have been healing. Forgive and move ahead. Yeah. This could be not even just forgiving and releasing anything between the two of them. This could be forgiving and releasing past cycles, right? Leaving old cycles and wounds and situations behind so that they can just move into a new space, a fresh start in love together. This could also be For those who haven't been together in this incarnation, this could be past life cycles healing. So forgiving that, right? Have enough wisdom to get back up. But just because somebody hurt either counterpart in the past doesn't mean that either of them will hurt each other. And so they're being called, whether it's from a previous incarnation or situation in this life, not to close their heart off and give up on love. Look, just because they were hurt in the past, don't forfeit this divine connection. Don't sabotage betrayed heart, right? Risk opening up to life and love. Just because someone else hurt you in the past does not mean that everyone will. Certainly does not mean that this divine counterpart will. And I'm hearing, no, they won't. And then I'm hearing the divine masculine say, no, I won't. No, he won't. And I know that. Somebody says how and why, because this is a divine masculine who's genuinely committed to positive practice, evolution, and change to the best of his ability. And not to say that everybody doesn't have their off days, but everybody doesn't have their days and their ways. But you do your best and you try. Alright, you've had all these karmics trying to compete with us, light workers. We've been too busy collaborating or trying to collaborate to compete. You don't have to do that when the only person you're competing with is the person you were yesterday. They got lost in the sauce trying to compete in a competition they put themselves in without our permission, knowledge, or awareness, or consent, and then got mad at us again when they still lost. I hear karmics say that they're mad because they feel like they're outshined. We outshine them. I feel that power, and I hear that power of 3 will set us free is what they're chanting. It's a group. Go to bed, dude. I hear you first so I can do spell work on you. No, you won't. Archangel Michael, thank you. Karmic is crying now. And she says it really is over. Like she's realizing that the counterparts have paired up, or that none of her attacks are working or going through, none of them will go through, etc. You know? It's just obnoxious at this point. Like a squeaky grocery cart.
When your jokes ain't funny, I'm the only cheerleader that you'll ever need. Take my name, put yours in front of it. Darling, you could even take my wallet. I'm the only cheerleader that you'll ever need.
I'm tired.
You know I made my mind up. Sorry, darling, you're stuck with me. Talking to your father, asking for his blessing. I wanna tell the whole world, singing from the rooftops. This is your love song, are you gonna sing along? Take my heart, take my cold, honey. I'll be laughing when your jokes ain't funny. I'm the only cheerleader that you'll ever need. Take my name, put yours in front of me. Darling, you could even take my wallet. I'm the only cheerleader that you'll ever need. So give love, give me your love. Take my heart, take my cold, honey. I'll be laughing when your jokes ain't funny. I'm the only shoulder that you'll ever need. Take my name, put yours in front of it. Darling, you could even take my wallet. I'm the only shoulder that you'll ever need.
Excuse me. So I wanted to know about this karmic female. So picking up, or like just the karmics in general. Trying to do the spell practicing that I picked up on. You're moving past those who have issues with you. It no longer matters to you. No, do you hear me? I sound bored. Yes, I'm tired, but also bored. Like, this is just your old news, karmic. Leave us alone. Stop trying to make yourself relevant. You're not. In fact, the more you do that, the more you prove my point. Theft magic. Whether it's trying to vie for attention or, again, that weird secret competition thing. I'm like, get real. You're psychotic. Also, Regina George gets hit by a bus in the end of that movie. You should pick better role models. Divine Masculine thinks I'm funny. Massive success is coming to you after you release someone toxic from your life. And then also, their candle magic and spell work is backfiring in their face. Wouldn't you know? There it is. The energy work done against you is done. It's over. The spell has been broken. And then while I was in the bath, I picked up that they were trying to do that because I was giggling earlier about how they spent all week. She complained, I spent all week doing that spell and you broke it in, yeah, like less than a minute or two. Or I stayed up all night working on that spell and you broke it. And so they wanted to go back to the metaphysical board and try again or something. Like, just stop, dude. Just stop. You're done. Cooked. Like, overdone Thanksgiving turkey. Okay? Nobody wants to eat that shit. Move along. Completion. The energy work done against you is done. It's over. Spell work has been broken. Someone is so obsessed with you to the point where they cannot stop thinking about you. And this is also where the whole trying to cause you to fail or cause issues for you in life comes from. Yeah, see, they wanted to take your power. This is an energy vampire, destiny swapper, attempter, energy harvester. They wanted to take your power away. This could be like verbal harassments and fear tactics or gaslighting too. They just want you to feel bad about yourself so that they can feel superior. No. And there are light workers quietly praying or maybe calling forth good energy or whatever the case may be. Doing Reiki. This could also be on the human plane and less so on the spiritual plane. Right? Silent light worker could be a good cop who knows that they're dirty cops trying to cause problems, who chooses to apprehend the criminals and not allow the dirty cops to get away with what they're doing, doesn't allow criminals to get away with what they're doing, but does step in to help protect and properly cover victims, survivors, the way that they're supposed to. See, look. And also, more specifically, keep them from being survivors in the first place because whatever issues would have been caused are just prevented instead. But yeah, someone's attracted to your light and seeking to dim it. It's an energy vampire, I told you. But the light will be illuminated on the situation. What's done in the dark will always come to light. So they're being exposed. It's also why I picked up on their spell work. It wasn't meant to be hidden. They thought it would be. God said no. It doesn't matter what they thought. God said no. First of all, you shouldn't be doing that, karmic. Second of all, I'm going to let my light workers know. And so God told me, and I'm telling you, I don't want you to worry. I just want you to know. The best way to break a spell or avoid it, right? Latching on taking root is do the opposite. If they want you to destroy your connection with your person, don't. Just understand what they're trying and be love instead. Hurt. If they're wanting you to, maybe they've got body envy or jealousy and they're trying to cause you health problems or make you not take care of yourself, what's the best way to combat that? Take care of yourself. Nurture yourself. Eat well. Just do the opposite. You just don't forfeit it. They want you to give up your free will with fear. That's a trick of the devil. Don't do it. That's all that is. I heard their penance. What's their penance? Or is there anything more specifically you want to tell me, God, about these karmics coming after us, these karmic situations? I told you. God said stop. Spirit team, angels, ancestors have it. What did I tell you? Also jealous of your material home style, clothes, cars, lifestyle. Ooh, and body envy. Told you, picked it up thrice. And there it is. Told you. Crazy. Yeah. See, they wanted to cloak themselves in someone else's energy or masquerade the fact that they're evil people. But no. No. Justice, like I said. Just pray. Just do what you need to do. Seek alignment. Seek truth. Be open with yourself and your partner. Don't let fear-based energies push you into the negative or to self-sabotage. Okay. Love you.
You can be the power, I'll be the clay. You can be the blacksmith, I'll be the man. You can be the power, I'll be the soul. You can be the sunlight, I'll be the moon. You'll be my north, I will be a sail. You'll be my shore.
It was loud. I'm just
Can be the gravity, I'll be the fall. You can be my everything, I'll be your. You be your love, I will be your love. I will be your love. You be your love, I will be your love. Love you like no other.
doing something. Hold on. Watch out, baby. Just a cute boy. Just a cute boy. See what baby has going on. What's up, Bailey? What you got for me, homegirl? Well. Okay.
It was known as the Blount Report, found that the overthrow of the monarchy in Hawaii was totally illegal, and it was an act of war by an American without the approval of Congress. So at first it looked like things were going to work out for the people of Hawaii, and the president immediately ordered Sanford Dole to dissolve his fake government and reinstate the Queen's monarchy.
On the wrong side.
Hooray! But there was one condition. The Queen was not allowed to punish Sanford and the occupiers for their crazy-ass takeover. And as you can imagine, the Queen did not agree to this. And Sanford refused to give up power, of course. So now the United States Senate launched its own investigation. This is exhausting.
Yeah.
This is where shit starts to get weird. You see, the Senate investigation, known as the Morgan Report, concluded the opposite of the committee's report and decided that Sanford's actions were totally legal. And this led to a gridlock in the government, and nobody really did anything with Hawaii for a few years until a new president came into town, William McKinley. Yeah, this new president, I should say, was very eager to expand the United States. So he went in super hard and was like, we need to get Hawaii ASAP. And Sanford was super excited because this new president was going to support what Sanford did in the first place, getting Hawaii part of the United States. Sanford traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. to seal Hawaii's fate. And it worked because in 1898, Congress approved the process that led to Hawaii officially becoming a U.S. territory. Bonus, Sanford got to be governor of it. Jesus Christ. In the end, the United States got Hawaii. Now that the United States had successfully stolen the land, business exploded in Hawaii. This is where Sanford's cousin, James Dole, the pineapple guy, comes into the picture. Even though pineapples aren't even native to Hawaii, James figured out pineapples grew very easily in the tropical environment, and he thought pineapple plantations would make him a lot of money. And boy, was he right.
Wild.
He made a ton of cash off of his pineapple business, and at one point took over the entire island of Oahu just for pineapples. When people associate pineapples with Hawaii, James Dole is the reason why. So for a while, the entire state of Hawaii was just pineapple, coffee, sugar plantations, and the owners of these plantations were completely running the place. Native Hawaiians couldn't live off of the land anymore because the land was totally exploited by these businesses, and all other local industries were put out of business too. So Native Hawaiians were forced to get jobs on these plantations in order to survive. In addition to its super fertile land, Hawaii also had a really strategic military placement. So this was just another reason that the United States really pushed to take Hawaii. And they made it official in 1908. The United States established a naval station on the island of Oahu. It became known as Pearl Harbor. This base became super important to the United States military presence in the Pacific Ocean, and it made it easier for battleships and warplanes to reach Asia. I bring this up because I've talked about the Pearl Harbor attacks in 1941 on this show before, but something I haven't talked about is how Hawaii was not even a state when that happened. Yeah, Hawaii became a state in 1959. And that wasn't even that long ago, it seems like, right? It's almost 18 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Some confusing shit, you know what I'm saying? So clearly, the history of Hawaii and how the United States took it is very complicated, shady, pretty frustrating. The United States stole the land since they never actually agreed to give it up. And the biggest thing to remember here is that in order for an occupier to legally obtain...
If I recall, that's the war, one of them that one of my grandfathers was in. Oh. Would have been my great-grandfather, one of them. But yeah, that was a rough one. Not that any war isn't.
And both parties need to sign a treaty recognizing that the land is being handed over. Well, there's no formal treaty between the United States and the Kingdom of Hawaii. It doesn't exist. The Kingdom of Hawaii never gave their nation to the occupiers. But the United States didn't care. They took it how they wanted to. So obviously, Native Hawaiians have been protesting Hawaii's title of statehood ever since. Because technically, if we look at international laws, occupation of land without a legally binding treaty is considered a war crime. Point blank period. Backspace, Control, or delete. The United States government finally acknowledged the hostile takeover of Hawaii with the Blount Report, as well as the Apology Resolution of 1993. President Bill Clinton finally apologized on behalf of the United States.
I've educated a lot over the years on this type of law, this type of corruption, the coup d'etat references, which is a hostile overthrow, an illegal hostile overthrow, because the way that my child and I were targeted was very much like this. When Trump and Elon were suddenly getting buddy-buddy, I called the overthrow of the government system weeks before it happened. And yes, I'm psychic, but I can't knock the psychic abilities, but I don't know that I wouldn't have noticed that even if I wasn't psychic. Like, yeah, I picked it up energetically, but I also recognized on a psychological and human level the pattern of abuse. Buddying up for favors, seeming to vie for something, have an aim, a motive. I noticed these red flags that were popping up and mentioned that they were going to try to do some kind of overthrow a week or two before they did. And it's because it's the same narcissistic patterning that I saw targeted directly towards my daughter and I. So I realized that Trump was just another narcissist doing it again. It's very Hitler-like, in fact. Nothing to be proud of.
States. But like, what does that do? I don't know. But since Hawaii's occupation by the United States began over 100 years ago, there has been an active effort in Hawaii to restore the government of Hawaiian Kingdom through something called a regency. A regency is what you get when the king or queen of a monarchy is unable to rule because they're dead or sick. And right now, Hawaii doesn't have a monarch, so they have a regent. So you're probably thinking, why don't they just bring Queen L's descendants to the throne? Well, you see, the queen had 3 children, but they were all adopted. And for any of them to take the throne, the queen would have had to directly name one of them as a successor in her will. Under the conditions of the old 1864 Hawaiian Constitution, if the king or queen dies and does not leave a final will and testament, the head of the government shall remain vacant. And since the queen never technically left her throne, this means the monarchy exists without a queen. Therefore, Hawaii is still a monarchy and has been since 1893. Plot twist. But don't take it from me. Let me tell you a story about a Hawaiian citizen named Lance Larson. In 1999, Lance was arrested for driving without a license plate, which is illegal under United States law. After he was arrested, Lance claimed that jurisdiction over him was only held by the Hawaiian Kingdom. You see, he made the claim that the United States had illegally occupied Hawaii. Therefore, he should only be tried under the laws of the kingdom, not the United States. Now, this created a very complicated situation. The international community actually stopped for a second and said, hey, wait a minute, is Hawaii occupied illegally? And nobody could really agree. This case ended up being so controversial that it went all the way to The Hague. Now, The Hague, oh my God, wait, I've been there. The Hague is located in the Netherlands, and it's where international legal cases are tried in a court of law. Basically, if an entire country is committing a crime, this is where you go. You go there. So why am I telling you about The Hague? Well, Mr. Larson's issue was no longer about license plates. It was about the very nature of Hawaii's existence as a state. Is Hawaii part of the United States and their government, or an independent state with their own monarchy? In order for The Hague to rule on whether the United States illegally obtained Hawaii, the United States had to be part of the original case. But guess what? The United States refused to participate.
Of course it is.
In fact, there isn't even any evidence that they protested when The Hague declared Hawaii an independent state. The Hague sided with Lance. The Hague stated that Hawaii is, and always has been, illegally occupied. Since there is no treaty, the occupation and any transfer of power as a result is illegal. Hawaii should be its own independent state.
Yeah, let me just recap this a little bit also, subsequently. Hello. Wait, what? No, I don't think I was talking to you. I didn't know you posted something about American Horror Story. Did we talk about this? I know I called out a karmic energy. There was a female, like a witch, and she was doing spell work. And I think there was a miscommunication of no worries. Tell me about this case though. Because if it's a true crime, I want to hear it. But no, American Horror Story is a television series, and they have different episodes. One of them is like a thanks for communicating. I'm glad you said something. That way we could have a chat. No worries. And they have different seasons. So for one season of American Horror Story, you may know what I'm talking about, but just in case you don't, they do like a carnival. So it's like a freak show series. And then on the next season, they do a whole season called the Coven season or series. And this is about witchcraft. And there are a bunch of witches who are trying to compete for like the top witch spot. And some of these karmic people get it in their head that they can use that show as an example of what to do to try to beat people. Like they get this weird competition in their head, and then they try to play it out in real life because that's what they watched on the TV screen. That's what that season is about, the Coven season, because these girls will even go as far as to murder each other just so that they can have the head witch spot. And that's why some of them think that if they try to target the divine feminine or they try to target a good person, then they can get what they want out of a situation, or like become the divine feminine, or they think by being evil they can get God's grace. Like, you are confused. That's not how that works. And even if they're not wording it like that, they think that they can get some kind of benefit or blessing by doing things that are generating them negative karma, because they're basing their choices off of the TV show. In the TV show, they're not getting karma for doing things like that. If you murder the girl who has the job that you want as the head witch, then you become the head witch in the TV show. So that's what they thought they would do without consequence in real life. And that's stupid. I think that's stupid of them. Yeah, no. That was a bad choice. But I was definitely, if that's what you were referencing, I was definitely not talking to you. So please don't take offense to that, and no worries. and I know what you're talking about, if that was the case, but no, it wasn't you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. That makes me sad. Because that means if you're coming back here to talk about it now and you thought I was talking to you, then for 12 to 24 hours, that's been heavy on your heart. And it wasn't even for you. I'm so sorry to hear that. Sending love. I hope you're all right. Please forgive the miscommunication. And I'm glad you said something. Hope that makes you feel better. I'm so sorry. Gotta go check my oven though. Thank you. Ooh, there's a karmic that's very angry. Hi, baby kitty. What are you doing? No, thank you. Thanks, my love. What's happened? Ooh, there is a karmic who's losing it, dude. Like, banging her head up against the wall is the kind of energy that I'm picking up. No. No. You're good. We both apologize. No worries. It happens. Miscommunication. No. And you know what's funny is I actually liked that season. Like, a lot of them were hit and miss. The Freak Show one was a little sketchy, but the Coven one was pretty good. And you know, actually, Mr. Meeker found it and watched some of it and said, "Hey, you'd really like this one." He actually said that the Supreme, like, I reminded him of the Supreme. The Supreme is also not necessarily an evil person. The person that pretty much most of the season they thought was the Supreme was this like hippie gypsy witch kind of character. So interestingly enough, wouldn't surprise me. I got it on a download. Like, there are tons of shows that they could be pulling something from, lots of horror movies and things like that that worshipped demons and play with different things, spirit boards and voodoo and all kinds of stuff, but that I didn't get that. And what I got was Coven, American Horror Story, which is not new. I used to get that years ago that they were doing that, but here they go again. No. But is there now I want to know what you're talking about. Is it a true crime? You said there's a true story? You silly goose, you should know by now. I would never shun you away over something like that. That piques my interest. Also, even if there wasn't, even if I didn't like that story or I didn't believe what you were saying or something, you and I have never had any issues here. So that type of tone and demeanor that karmic got, which was quite a response, yeah, comparatively, that's even if there was an issue that we needed to discuss, that's not how I would speak to you. Unless you did anything wrong. But from what I've seen over the last month or however long you've been here, is that when somebody's being like that, you tell them to cut it out. So quite the opposite. I found I really appreciate you. No worries. Happens. I think I'm more upset that you waited so long to say something. Because that means for like 12 hours it's been bothering you. And that makes me sad to hear. For you, though. Cheers. Feel free to tell me about this story. The family, yeah. And this Bailey story, the battery died. I won't be here for that much longer though anyway, but careful, babe. Yep, no, there's a karmic, like, she's melting down, dude, like, full out tantruming and crying. She says she really thought that whatever the spells or whatever she was doing would work. Whatever that was that she did. No. No, I know what she did, but we're not even going to get into it right now. It just doesn't matter. It's funny. This is a karmic female who tried to get me to stop doing my nails because she was jealous and she's crying and she's like, your nails look really good. Yeah. I know. You said it the other day. It's just jealousy. And you're right. And I was thinking today, like, and you know what? I also heard Divine Masculine over the last couple of days or week or so talk about this. Maybe like to his mom even or something. There was one, I heard one conversation. And he was talking about how much money that I save, or that he was kind of calculating in his head or thinking about that I save by doing my own nails like this. Because he was looking at my designs. This is a masculine who may have paid for somebody else's nails at one point or another. And so kind of, or maybe like to get his own done, I don't know. But he kind of learned a little bit, or maybe even just by hearing other people speak about it, how much nails and art like this would cost. And yeah, probably a few $100s a set, actually. So I saved myself thousands. Even when I invest in products and stuff to do it myself. A lot of what you're paying for, yes, it's also the products when you're getting a service done, but it's the time and the skill set that you're paying for, because most people couldn't do that themselves. Or certainly not to that degree, no. also like it. I find it quite therapeutic. But nonetheless.
With its own government and its own set of laws. But since the United States refused to acknowledge the Hague or the Larson case, nothing's changed. So even though the international community has acknowledged that Hawaii is its own nation state, the United States government is straight up ignoring that. And since the USA is a massive superpower, there really is no one who can enforce international rulings against them. Now you may be wondering, well, why is no one talking about this? Well, they are. The Hawaiian Sovereignty Movement is a grassroots organization campaigning for a return to Hawaiian independence. And from what we've learned today, they have an interesting case. They have a fair case. They have a pretty solid case.
It's over. I feel like one more just to unwind a little bit. And then Divine Masculine says, unwind, you're watching scary stories. I've been through much worse. These are relaxing at this point. Sadly. These are stories. I've dealt with real life monsters. Even the ones here that are real, based on real stories. I've dealt with real life monsters. It's a trauma response. It also can help survivors, like seeing other people. Like when I watch a true crime, a karmic will watch it and they'll resonate with the bad guys, or they'll try to get ideas on how to commit crimes from the bad guys. I don't do that. I resonate with the good cops who do reasonable deductive thinking and observation skills, who use investigative skills to figure out the truth or map a pattern, or the survivors. I'm sorry, that sounds contradictory and weird, but when you're already in such a state of dysregulation and your peace is being disturbed, this doesn't hurt it. I heard that. What is that? The cats are playing zoomies. I'm not mad. They're gonna just as long as they're not hurting themselves or anybody else, that's fine. Let them play. Get the energy out.
At 8:40 a.m. on July 7th, 1967, a 17-year-old girl named Nancy McEwen was driving along a highway in Brooklyn, New York.
I heard that. What? You don't care. It's not that big a deal. If they make a mess, I can clean it. It's not like they can really get into that much. I think it's pretty situated. Just a monkey. Let them play.
She was on her way to her job as a secretary at her dad's office in Brooklyn, and she was coming from her home in Long Island, New York. Now, the commute to her office took about an hour, but Nancy didn't mind because her dad had just got her this beautiful, brand new yellow Camaro, and she loved driving it. And the highway she was on had this amazing view of the beach and ocean down below. And so that day, Nancy rolled down her window so she could feel the ocean breeze as she drove, and then she took in a deep breath and she smiled. At the same time Nancy was doing this, a police lieutenant was driving in his car a couple cars back from Nancy, and as he was just driving along, he suddenly sees this yellow Camaro that to this point had been driving completely normally, suddenly veer off the road, miraculously missed the oncoming cars, and then smashed into a tree on the side of the road. And so the police lieutenant instinctively jammed on his brakes and veered over to the shoulder and stopped behind the Camaro. And as the lieutenant got out of the car, he was thinking, clearly the driver must have just had some kind of medical emergency, because he didn't see any obstacles in the road, and the car, the Camaro, had been driving completely normally to that point. So like, what would cause them to veer and crash into the road at such a high speed other than a medical emergency? And so the lieutenant jumps out of the car, runs over to the driver's side window, and he looks inside, and he sees this teenage girl, this blonde teenage girl, and she's slumped over the wheel, and she's not looking up at him, she's not making any sound, she's just sitting there. And so he opens up the door and he asks her, like, are you okay? And she didn't say anything, but she did moan. And so she was breathing, she was alive, and there weren't any obvious physical injuries. Like, clearly she's just crashed into this tree at high speed, so she's definitely shaken up, but there weren't any obvious grievous injuries that have occurred here, at least none that he could see. And so he asked her again, like, hey, are you okay? What's going on here? And she just continued to moan. And so again, considering he's looking at her and she seems, basically okay, all things considered, he thought, maybe she's drunk. I mean, that would kind of explain, the sudden veering off the road. And so at this point, the lieutenant radioed for backup and also called for an ambulance. And while he waited, he began searching the car, just basically looking to see if maybe there was some clue in the car as to what happened here. Like, for example, containers of alcohol. And so he's looking around and he doesn't see any empty bottles and he can't smell any alcohol in the car. But still, this whole time, the girl is not responding. She's just moaning and just kind of slumped over there. And then a couple of minutes later, he hears sirens and he looks up and a bunch of first responders came over. They pulled the girl out of the car, got her in the ambulance, and off to the hospital she went. Once Nancy got to the hospital, medical staff was able to determine that she was not drunk, but she did clearly appear to be having some kind of medical emergency, but they didn't know what it was. And again, there was no visible injuries on her. I mean, she just basically looked really shaken up and was non-responsive. And quickly, after Nancy was at the hospital, her condition only got worse, to the point where doctors were giving her shots of adrenaline to try to keep her alive. But it didn't work. And at 11:30 a.m., roughly 2.5 hours after Nancy crashed into the tree, she died. And it was only then, after Nancy was dead, that the medical staff made a discovery, something they had totally missed when Nancy had first came in. And that was, on the back of her head, hidden amongst her hair, was a small circular hole. It was a bullet wound, and for some reason, it didn't bleed at all. Clearly, Nancy did not just randomly veer off the road and smash into a tree. No, she had been shot. About 30 minutes after this discovery was made, a detective named Albert Seidman was standing next to Nancy's crashed car on the side of the highway. Seidman had a reputation as being this totally no-nonsense detective who effectively would stop at nothing to try to solve a case. By this point, he'd already...
Didn't it just say something about like a good cop? Right.
To Nancy's parents, who obviously were devastated and very confused by their daughter's death. They said that, Nancy never got in trouble and certainly didn't have any enemies, and so it made no sense that somebody had just shot her as she was driving. And Detective Seidman had to agree. This was not an average murder case. But regardless, he knew the best place to start this investigation was Nancy's car. The car was actually in pretty good shape. I mean, despite striking this tree at high speeds, the body of the car basically remained intact. And so Seidman began going inside the car and looking all around it, looking for bullet holes to see where this bullet came in and struck the driver, but he found none. Really, there was nothing in the car that gave any information away about what actually happened here. Also, adding to the mystery here is Seidman knew there had been that police lieutenant who just happened to be driving a few cars back from Nancy when she suddenly veered off the road and crashed. And he would say that he did not hear any gunshots, although admittedly he wasn't really listening for gunshots, but he said everything was normal and then the car just veered and crashed. He couldn't understand it. Detective Seidman had briefly considered that, maybe Nancy had been shot by somebody inside of her car. But because of the presence of that lieutenant, who immediately was on the scene and was basically looking at the car from the time it crashed all the way until the ambulance arrived, he said there was nobody else in the car and I did not witness anybody fleeing the scene. The whole situation was very bizarre. But Detective Seidman, thinking logically, thought, okay, well, we know she's been shot. So even though nobody knows how that happened, well, there has to be a shell casing somewhere for the round that struck her. And so for the rest of the day, Seidman and his team canvassed that whole highway all around that area, looking for a shell casing, or really any clue that a gun had been fired in the vicinity. But they found nothing. By the end of the day, Detective Seidman was beginning to feel pretty disappointed about how the investigation was going so far. But he thought to himself, okay, well, I know I haven't found anything promising yet, But remember, she was shot not in some secluded area. She was shot on a major highway in Brooklyn, New York, a city of over 2.5 million people. I mean, someone somewhere must have seen or heard something. And so instead of continuing to look for a shell casing, Seidman abandoned that idea and decided to go find witnesses. Over the next 5 days, Detective Seidman and his team scoured Brooklyn and interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, looking for anybody who had any information about this shooting. They also put out a public plea for information and were
Please forgive me. The giggles are unrelated to this. It would be very inaptly timed. Hearing Divine Masculine say some more stuff about this. And it's funny.
tips that way.
I'm still
But
laughing.
at the end of those 5 days, despite the huge number of interviews, they really hadn't gotten anywhere. As Seidman began to feel his frustration rising, because once again, it just felt like they were hitting another dead end on this case, he told himself, like, they must have missed something.
I'm going to make a whole joke about that. Another one? I'm already laughing from the first one.
They've talked to a ton of people, but maybe they were too quick. Maybe they weren't asking the right questions. And so on July 12th, he gathered up his team and he circled some spots on a map of Brooklyn and said, look, guys, we're going to go back to these key areas that are sort of positioned in the best angles to have maybe heard or seen something with this shooting. And we're going to ask some more questions. Just see if maybe these people have something we didn't catch. In one of those circled areas, the police discovered a gas station that was owned by a guy named Theodore DeLisi. And it was located only 2 blocks away from where Nancy had been shot. And on the morning of July 12th, when the police officers rolled up to this gas station, Theodore was working, and he saw the police coming towards him, and right away he knew this had to be about Nancy McEwen. So Theodore had been following this case really closely as it was developing for 2 reasons. One, Nancy had been shot really close to his gas station, so there's that proximity bias. And 2, Theodore was actually friends with Nancy's father and had known Nancy growing up. And so this case really hit close to home. When the police walked inside the gas station, Theodore immediately asked them, are you here about Nancy? And they would say yes. And that's when he would tell them his connection to Nancy and how he was following this case really closely. But despite his proximity to where she had been shot, he said, unfortunately, he hadn't seen or heard anything. But then Theodore quickly followed that up and said that, well, while he had been at the gas station in the morning for a little bit, he did take off at some point to go fishing out on the water in his boat, which was not too far away. But even from there, too, he still said he didn't hear or see anything. But it was kind of noisy out on the water anyways, so, he really wouldn't have heard anything out there anyhow. The police nodded and asked some simple follow-up questions to Theodore about, take us through what happened that morning. What'd you see? Were there other fishermen out there? When you were at the gas station, did you see anything unusual? Just kind of seeing if there was anything that would jog his memory. And Theodore was answering every question as truthfully as he could. And at some point, he began to think really hard about what he actually saw when he was out on the water fishing. And suddenly, it all clicked. Theodore knew who killed Nancy. It would turn out at 8:40 a.m. on July 7th, the exact moment Nancy was shot, veered off the road and crashed, Theodore was in fact out in his boat fishing. Except at 8:40 a.m., he wasn't actually fishing. Instead, he had a can, and he threw that can into the water. And once he saw the can, he kind of kept staring at it, and then he raised his rifle and he fired a shot at the can. But he missed, and the bullet, by some fluke of physics, ricocheted off the surface of the water, went up into the highway right as Nancy had rolled her window down, struck her in the head, and killed her. Theodore knew he had been shooting his gun out on the water, but what he saw was the bullet hit the water. He didn't think for a second he could have fired up towards the highway. It was when police began asking questions that he thought, oh my goodness, it is possible. A ricochet could have struck her in the head. Theodore was charged with homicide, but ultimately a grand jury chose not to indict him, citing that this truly was an accident.
Really
Theodore
was.
did not serve any jail time, but he was
Tragic,
fined
but-
$100 for firing a rifle within city limits.
That's insane.
Hey guys, did you know?
Right. Divine Masculine's like, I love how you can how I was merciful in this case. That's a case that deserves it. Right. It shows that when you call out these karmics for being crappy, you're not just, no, I don't expect people to be perfect. And even when I can say, like, yeah, that was messed up, um, when it's truly an accident and when it's truly, it's a different situation, and I can acknowledge that, but they're mad that I'm calling them out for being evil, for being malicious, and it's not an insult, it's an observation. It is what they are based on what they've chosen to do and be. It's not an insult. So if they're insulted, they need to go sit on that and work that out with themselves. I'd say have a chat with God about it, but I already know God doesn't want to hear them. Don't shoot the messenger. There's bad karma for that too.
You can get your strange, dark, and mysterious fix anytime, anywhere with the Mr. It was not that dirty. He was really taking time to ensure it was as clean and inviting as he could possibly make it. So normally, Jason would host these Bible study groups at his house. But unfortunately, Jason's house burned down just that past summer and he lost everything. But Jason was so committed to God and spreading the word of God that he still wanted to continue having these Bible study groups, even if it meant, doing it in this kind of crummy motel room. And so Jason walked around the room, picking up laundry and straightening up his bed. And then after kind of arranging chairs in a circle for the various participants he was expecting, he went over to a cabinet, pulled out some Bibles, and right as he was about to start placing these Bibles on each chair, he heard a knock at the door. And Jason was really excited because he knew that had to be someone who was here for this Bible study. And so he walked right over, Bibles in hand, to the door. He opened it up, and standing outside the door was this big guy covered in tattoos, kind of looking down at Jason. And Jason broke into a big smile. He was so happy to see this guy. The man's name was David Luaris. And Jason had previously met him when he was out on the street doing outreach for his church, and he had invited David to, anytime he wanted to come by the motel and be a part of this Bible study group. Now, Jason knew that David was really not the kind of guy who went to church or really showed any real interest in God or, the Bible, but, Jason took all kinds, and he was just hopeful that maybe David would show up someday. And now, here David was. However, David told Jason that the reason he was here was actually not for the Bible study group. He was here because he was in the middle of a crisis and he didn't know where else to turn. He confessed to Jason that he'd begun using drugs and gotten mixed up in some criminal activity, and there's some dangerous people out there that he was sort of running with, and now his concern was some of those dangerous people were coming to get him. And so he literally felt like his life was in danger. Now, when Jason heard this, he was surprised. But at the same time, he could tell that David was being very authentic and just needed help. And Jason felt like, his job ultimately was to serve God and all of God's people. And David was one of those people, and he was in need of help. And so if all Jason did was simply provided safe haven for David inside of this motel room, then that was serving God, and it was the right thing to do. And so Jason immediately said, "No problem, David." He handed him a Bible and said, "Come on in." David took the Bible awkwardly and just kind of stood there for a moment, not really sure what to do. But then Jason said, "Hey, relax, just come inside, take a seat." And so David did. He walked in, he sat down with the Bible, and then Jason actually came over and sat down next to him, and the two of them, for about 15 minutes, just made kind of awkward small talk. Jason could tell, David is completely on edge. He was staring at the door, which was now closed, and he just clearly was very anxious and paranoid, and so Jason really wasn't talking about the Bible or God or anything. He was just, trying to calm David down and show him that this was a safe place. And then after about 15 minutes of this, when David had somewhat calmed down, and also by this point, nobody else had showed up for this Bible study group, Jason decided, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just begin the Bible study with David. It kind of gives us something to do. And so Jason got up, he locked the door, showing David that it's just going to be them, it's safe here. And he told David to go ahead and open his Bible to a certain page, and then the two of them just began reading the Bible together. And for hours, they just sat there reading the Bible, and Jason spoke to David about, teachings of God and how to lead your life in a way to serve other people. And, for the most part, David did completely calm down and seemed to really be embracing this Bible study. But eventually, despite how well this Bible study was going, it did need to come to an end at some point, at least in Jason's mind. When he began to notice it was getting dark outside, he sort of began wrapping it up, and he shut his Bible and sort of expected that David would take a hint and leave, but David didn't. Instead, when David began to realize that, hey, this is over now and it's time for you to go, David looked at Jason and begged him to please let him stay in this room overnight, that he can't go out there. It's not safe for him. Now, Jason knew he did have some level of responsibility for David. I mean, David had told him he was in danger. He had already invited him inside and was basically providing safe haven for him. And it did feel kind of wrong to be like, now go back out there. But at the same time, Jason felt a little uneasy. I mean, he didn't really know David. He didn't really understand the situation. And so there was some hesitation at first, but after looking again at David and seeing how desperate he was to just please stay here overnight, Jason said, okay, you can stay. So Jason grabbed some extra blankets and pillows and created a makeshift bed on the floor. And then after that, the two of them actually reopened their Bibles and just began reading some more from the Bible for a couple more hours, basically another round of Bible study. But eventually, they both were very tired, so they put their Bibles down, they said goodnight, they each climbed into their beds, and they closed their eyes and fell asleep. For the next 5 days, Jason's motel room remained mostly closed, and the only thing anybody heard coming from his room was gospel music, and it was being played at a very high volume, basically the entire time, to the point where other residents of this motel began to complain about how loud the music was. However, the owner of the motel was getting these complaints from residents who were only there for, hours at a time or days at a time. And, the room they're complaining about, Jason's room, he was a long-term resident and so had a sort of higher priority with the owner. And so the owner just didn't feel like bothering Jason. He wanted him to stay and keep paying for that room. So the owner didn't do anything about the noise complaints. And also, the owner did know that his motel had sort of a seedy reputation, and so, generally speaking, he didn't really care too much about the music to begin with. And so over the course of these 5 days, the music kept on blasting, and really the only other thing of note, again, that happened in this period of time, was that these two other people entered Jason's motel room and didn't leave either. So basically there's 4 people in the room, they haven't come out again, super loud music, that's all going on for 5 days. And then on the 5th day, the morning of September 22nd, a single person walked out of Jason's motel room, and they were wearing a full-body hazmat suit and carrying some sort of luggage. And they would leave the motel, get in a car, and drive away. 45 minutes later, about 25 miles away from that motel, the Fort Worth Fire Department got a call about this raging dumpster fire in a residential neighborhood. Firefighters quickly got to the scene and put out the blaze, and after it was gone, they walked up to the smoky dumpster and looked inside just to get a look at what was burning, and what they saw caused them all to back up and call the police. It would turn out David was right when he said he was in danger. However, what he didn't understand is hiding out in Jason's motel room was not going to protect him from that danger. Shortly after he and Jason wrapped up that second Bible study that night, and the two of them climbed into their respective beds, Jason in his actual bed and David in the makeshift bed on the floor, well, David did fall asleep pretty quickly, but Jason didn't. Jason waited until David was asleep, and then Jason got up, got a knife, and then slit David's throat. Then he cut David's heart out and ate it, because Jason the preacher really actually believed that human sacrifice was the best and purest way to serve God. Over the course of the next 5 days after killing David, Jason would remain in his motel room blasting gospel music, and over those 5 days, he would basically lure those 2 women into his room, very likely on the promise of Bible study, but they too would be sacrificed. And then on the 5th day, the person who exited the motel room in the full hazmat suit was Jason, and that luggage he was carrying with him contained the body parts of the 3 people he had just killed. And he brought those body parts to that dumpster in that residential neighborhood and lit them on fire. And so when the firefighters put out the fire, what they saw inside were burned up bodies. Jason was arrested, and while he was awaiting trial, he confessed that David and the 2 women were not actually his first victims. He said that just a few years earlier, he had sacrificed his girlfriend, and that house fire that destroyed all of his belongings and prompted him to go live in this motel.
Right, I was like, that doesn't bother you? No, this one bothers me more than the first one, a little bit. Not very nice. But I've still dealt with some monsters.
Was set by Jason himself, because he had sacrificed his roommate and needed to get rid of the evidence. Ultimately, law enforcement was only able to show that Jason killed those 5 people. But there could have been more. Jason was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to death. He is currently on death row in Texas.
Insane. It's insane. There's one more.
On the evening of Thursday, May 21st, 2015, a 16-year-old girl named Lily walked into the home gym inside of her house in Hong Kong looking to do a workout. Now, she sort of expected the gym would be empty and she could kind of have the run of the place, but as soon as she walked in, she saw her dad was in there and he was doing some sort of cool down exercise on a yoga ball. So Lily's dad, whose name was Ka Kim Sun, was a doctor and a professional, and normally at this time of the day, she would never see him in the gym. He was typically locked upstairs in his study, or upstairs doing work or something, or he was just gone for the day. So for him to be here, it just didn't really line up with his schedule. And so Lily asked her dad, what are you doing here? What's going on? And her dad would tell her, well, actually, work at the hospital was really slow today, so I took off, I played some tennis with friends, and now I'm just doing some cool down exercises because I got nothing else to do. But I'll be out of your hair in a second. And sure enough, a couple of minutes later, her dad was up and out of the gym, and Lily just began her workout. The next day, May 22nd, around 1 o'clock, Lily was at home at her dining room table, sitting across from her mother, whose name was Wang Xiu Feng, and Lily was eating a snack and staring at an open textbook. Now, normally at 1 o'clock on a Friday, Lily would be at school, but she had had the day off that day. And she had wanted to spend her day off seeing friends and just being a teenager, but her dad was really focused on her being successful academically, and he told her that absolutely not. You're not going anywhere. You are going to stay home and you are going to study all day long. You will not leave the house. That's what you're doing. So Lily just continued to stare at the textbook and basically do what her father said. And then a couple of minutes later, she actually heard her dad coming down the stairs. And he came into the dining room, and he was clearly very pleased to see his daughter doing her work, or at least appearing to do her work. And he came over to her, gave her a kiss, he kissed their mother, and then he said he was off to work. And then he went out the door, and he was gone. And as soon as Carl was gone, Lily's mom looked over at her and said, I'm not going to make you study all day. Come on, let's go out and have a mother-daughter shopping day. And Lily was stoked. She shut her textbook, she went and got ready, and then a minute later, she and her mom climbed into her mom's yellow Mini Cooper car, and they headed out. About 2 hours later, around 4:15 p.m., a local jogger was running in the same neighborhood as where Lily and her family lived, and as they were running down the road, they noticed there was this yellow Mini Cooper car sitting on the side of the road, not moving, but it was still on. It was just sort of idling right there. And at first glance, it appeared there were people inside the car, but they weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there, not moving. And so the jogger was curious, and so they ran past and made a point to look inside the car, and they saw two women in the front two seats of this car slumped over. The two women were Lily and her mother. And so the jogger began to panic and banged on the glass to try to get the women to respond, but they didn't. And so a minute later, police were called. They dragged Lily and her mother out of the car. They were totally unresponsive. They were rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. They both died. The police would begin their investigation into their deaths by searching the yellow Mini Cooper car. And when they searched it, there really was nothing of note inside of it. I mean, the two women's purses were in the front of the car. There was some basic exercise equipment in the trunk, but the car was pristine, clean, not cluttered. I mean, there really was nothing in the car that gave away what could have happened to these two women. For the next 6 months, the police tirelessly looked for some lead as to what happened to this mother and daughter. They would interview all their friends and family. They would search their house top to bottom. They would basically take apart this Mini Cooper and look for, defects or flaws that maybe could have contributed to their death. I mean, they were looking everywhere, but it just didn't make sense. Nobody had any idea what happened to these two women. And so right as this case appeared like it was about to go cold, the detectives decided to just go back to the Mini Cooper and see if maybe, just maybe, they missed something. And sure enough, they had. It would turn out on May 22nd, 2015, the day that Lily and her mother died, Lily's father had told Lily to stay home and study, not because he cared about her academics. I mean, he did, but that day, the reason for this was not for that. Instead, he wanted her to stay home all day to protect her. When police originally searched Lily's mom's car, they found the two women's purses and also some basic exercise equipment in the trunk, specifically a deflated yoga ball. And at the time, the police didn't think anything of these items. They looked into them, they considered them, but they didn't seem to have any bearing on what happened to the women. However, it would turn out the yoga ball did have something to do with it. Specifically, 2 days before the women were found dead, that yoga ball was inside of Lily's home. It was in her home gym. In fact, when she walked into the home gym and saw her dad doing cool down exercises and thought it was strange he was home right now, he was using that yoga ball. And Lily didn't think anything of it. But in reality, what her father was doing was not cool down exercises. He had not just come home early and, had played tennis and this and that. In reality, he had taken that yoga ball to the hospital where he worked and filled it with carbon monoxide, an odorless, colorless, poisonous gas. And his plan was to put the yoga ball in his wife's car, unplug it, and now it's sealed and the gas is going to leak inside the car. And then when his wife got in the car and shut the door, she would effectively suffocate and die. He didn't try to kill his daughter, though. He wanted her to stay home and study, i.e., don't go with your mom and get in the car. But the mother defied the father, brought the daughter along, and then after driving for only a mile, the two women collapsed and died. Ka Kim's son was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. He has never explained his motive.
Like, why not just get a divorce? You know?
In case you have...
Good grief. I'm not going to leave you on that note. What I am going to do is give a little bit of love and some Reiki. Anybody wants a boost? Don't rush. I saw that. It's okay. I'll give you a second. Just relax. So somebody like racing to the couch or armchair. Oh, baby. I love you. Kiss my baby. Kiss the baby. There's sovereignty Reiki coming through. There's also eloquence Reiki coming through. There's peace and protection Reiki coming through. So divinity, this will help you tap into your highest self. Oh baby, you want to cuddle? Just a baby. Kiss my big spoon. Kiss the big spoon. Kiss the little spoon. Yeah. Thank you. You'll never guess what I just had some visions of. You almost ready for Betty Bye? Do you think that's a good idea? Thank you. There's a little bit more energy therapy coming through. Oh, baby, I know. Ready for bed. Thank you, boy. I love you. I hear My Girl by it's Dylan Scott. Hey, babe. Thank you. Please remember to pray. Do no harm. Take no crap. And I'll catch you in the next one. Blessings and namaste.